Now, a CBS3 Springfield special presentation, the Pinpoint Weather Winter Outlook.
Winter officially begins on December 21st, still 1 month away. But as Western Mass saw last year, Mother Nature doesn't always seem to care what season it should be. The October nor'easter brought about a more sudden and shocking start to our winter season. Many people were left completely unprepared by that storm last year, stuck without power and heat for several days. While the timing of that storm was rare, every year Western Mass is in the crosshairs for at least one major winter storm. Good evening, I'm meteorologist Mike Skirko. Tonight we'll give you a comprehensive guide to preparing for this upcoming winter season, whether it's the need to hit the roads or potentially ride out a major snowstorm. We'll also take a look at the expected winter forecast for Western Mass, breaking down all of the major influences and the final numbers we're expecting when this season is all said and done. Forecasts for an entire winter season are complicated. The Springfield area averages nearly 50 inches of snow per winter season, but it can come in different amounts and part of different types of storms. Before looking at the whole picture, it is important to understand the day-to-day basics, the various watches and warnings that can color the map when a snowstorm approaches. Winter weather advisories are the most common for Western Mass, issued when an average of 3 inches of snow is in our forecast area, causing a minor annoyance and delays on the roadways. The next upgrade, a winter storm warning, is for a possible 6 inches of snow in a 12-hour period or a heavier 8 inches of snow in 24 hours. The granddaddy of them all, a blizzard warning, has a more specific set of points that all must be met. While those type of life-threatening whiteout conditions are not as frequent in New England, they can still occur about once every 3 winters. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't just prepare ourselves every 3rd year. Could a crippling storm be in the cards for us again this year?
Well, first, I hope that people really keep in mind the need to be prepared. Because you can see from the year that we had last year that extreme situations and unexpected disasters do happen in this area, and it's important to have a plan for you and your family. For instance, when the power went out last year, people needed to shelter in place for about a week, and a lot of people weren't prepared for that.
The American Red Cross calls it being Red Cross ready. 3 simple steps: get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. While most of us do adjust our plans and stay informed during inclement weather, it's that first step that most of us do not take literally. But it can make a bad situation just a little easier to deal with, whether it's one night or a few days without power.
We suggest having enough food and water for each member of your family for a minimum of 3 days in the kit. Having flashlights, batteries, a hand crank radio, or a battery-powered radio. You want to have some comfort items in there, blankets, games for the children, things to keep you entertained if the power is out. Also, you want to have important medical documents or just important personal documents, copies of those in your kit. You want to have some cash on hand because a lot of people forget that when the power goes out, you might not have access to money through an ATM. So you want to have some cash and just those essential items that your family would need for at least 3 to 5 days.
It's also important to have the right kind of nutrition for the non-perishable items in your kit. Most of us probably don't want to be stuck with just peanut butter sandwiches and candy bars for a few days.
The best things you should have in your kit are definitely foods that provide a lot of nutrition for the calories. You want to pack things like nuts and seeds and nut butters. And remember, shelf-stable items like meal replacement shakes. We talk about, canned tuna a lot, but there's also things like canned chicken you can buy, canned salmon, and these things don't have to be heated up. And then things like canned soup. You can pick up minestrone and, those that are loaded with vegetables. And they don't have to be heated. So you can just open them, make sure you have your can opener, and you can eat them right out of the can safely.
Even if all of these items are already in your closets or pantries, it's important to get it all in one undisturbed place for the winter.
Because if you think about losing power or something really happening, you don't want to be running all over the house and tearing up the kitchen looking for these different items. You kind of want them in a central location so that, you know, they're readily accessible.
Preparations at home aren't the only ones to be made. Making a plan for safe traveling is a must. But sometimes being on a snow-covered roadway is unavoidable, so it's important for your vehicle to be prepared for winter as well.
You certainly want to go into the winter with clean oil in the crankcase. The next thing to concern yourself with is the coolant and the condition of the coolant. Most manufacturers recommend exchanging the coolant at least every 2 years, in many cases 1, depending on the amount of miles driven. And then there's always belts, hoses, things of that nature that are stressed quite a bit when it's cold out.
While driving through the snow makes everybody more cautious, it's actually the excessive cold that can do the most harm to your vehicle.
Cold is the big thing. The colder it gets, the harder all your systems in the car has to work to get where it belongs. There's a lot of talk in the news lately of oil change intervals going up to 6,000 and 7,000 miles. But all the manufacturers will tell you that that's the case unless you drive where there are salt-covered roads, unless you drive 5-mile distances when it's below freezing. And so when the cold weather just takes all of that into the severe operating condition situation, and you want to make sure you get your intervals done as recommended.
Tires wear and tear as well, but this day and age, snow tires do not necessarily have to be put on your vehicle.
With the newer vehicles and the suspensions the way they're set up, combined with the ability of the cities to get the roads clear pretty quickly, a good set of all-season tires will do the trick for most people. Surprisingly enough, I've been doing this for 40 years, and the process of winterizing the car has not changed much over that whole period of time. If they go into the winter with all their fluids and belts and hoses correct, there's really not much more they need to do other than basic maintenance you do any other time of the year.
Finally, being informed. With today's advancements in technology and social media, the latest public information and weather forecasts are always at your fingertips.
You know, over 5,000-6,000 people are subscribed to me on Facebook. I put a message out there, and instantaneously thousands of people are getting that message and sharing that message with their hundreds and thousands of friends. And so we can really proliferate the community with that message very quickly.
During an emergency, it really has shown itself to work very, very well as an interactive tool. I found out during snowstorms in the winter of 2010 just how effective it can be by asking people, have they plowed your street yet? And getting a lot of response so we can direct resources.
Looking towards the winter, be it for if City Hall is going to be closing for the storm, for a snowstorm, if school is going to be closed, parking bans, you know, to remind people what side of the street to park on. We want to make sure we're putting that information out on Facebook.
After the disasters of last year, local officials continue to embrace this new media platform. Even if the power goes out, being friends and followers on Facebook and Twitter can keep the community updated as best and as fast as possible.
Everybody is just as crazy as I am about making sure these things are charged during emergencies. So the reality is people are in real time, if they're out of power and they have a charged cell phone that's a smartphone, they'll be on the internet, they'll be on Facebook, they'll be getting me messages.
I mean, it's on my smartphone right in front of me here. I can, you know, just do it on my phone. I don't have to get to the computer. I don't have to be here at the office. I could be home wherever I am in the community. I can update my Facebook about a storm that's coming.
It's also a way for people to say thanks. When services are delivered timely and economically, or they like a particular thing we're doing, that's a way for them to get at me really quickly and let me know.
Stick around. When we return, meteorologist Nick Morganelli reveals your winter forecast.
A CBS3 Springfield special presentation, the Pinpoint Weather Winter Outlook.
Part of being a New Englander is getting out and enjoying the winter, whether it's hitting the ski slopes of the Berkshires, seeing the holiday lights reflect off the white landscape, or simply building a snowman in the front yard. But ultimately, it's up to Mother Nature as to how much snow we will receive for those activities. We can prepare all that we want, planning for the worst, but hoping for the best. So what does have the most influence on our winter season? Meteorologist Nick Morganelli breaks down all of those factors and has a look at the expected final numbers for your winter forecast.
There's a lot of weather prognosticating. There's folklore, predictions from the animal kingdom, weather almanacs, and there's often conflicting information. We use a blend of science and experience for the daily predictions, but is forecasting an entire season possible?
Onion skins very thin, mild winter coming in. Onion skins thick and tough, coming winter cold and rough. Rhymes are fun, but it's the Earth's natural processes that have given us great insight to patterns that produce cold and snow. We look for more than one influence occurring simultaneously. Let's relate this to something you are familiar with. Meet me in the kitchen and hold the onions. Well, I love to cook, but this isn't your everyday kitchen experience. Imagine a recipe for a cold, snowy winter. What are the ingredients? You need cold air and moisture. That's already steeping in the pot. But let's see if we're adding one of the big players that determine our winter weather, El Nino.
The movement of warm surface water across the equatorial Pacific towards South America, named so by fishermen along the coast of Peru. They noticed warmer waters on occasion during the Christmas season, thus the name the Child, for yes, the baby Jesus. So how does El Nino shape a New England winter? It affects the jet stream, pushing it farther north. It could even mean a subtropical jet stream that brings in warm, moist air. With a strong El Nino in place, the U.S. receives a much milder winter. This winter, the sea surface temperatures are not warm enough for an El Nino event.
For a snowy, cold winter, we wouldn't add any El Nino, but we have a little bit of Pacific warming. So we'll put just a dash of El Nino in here, and that's not going to put stops on the cold and the snow. There are other important factors to spice up this year's recipe.
It's the most important force that drives our weather. It's our star, the sun. Solar radiation, to be specific. Solar scientists study an 11-year sunspot cycle. The fewer sunspots on the sun's surface, the less energy output of the sun. It's a very small decrease, but can make a big difference. In fact, from 1645 to 1715, intense cold accompanied a solar minimum, dubbing that period the Little Ice Age. We spoke to one New England scientist that follows these cycles.
Very important. The quiet sun was partially responsible for the tremendous amount of high-latitude blocking that we've seen in recent winters that produced the brutal winters in Europe and Asia and all that snow in the United States.
We're approaching the peak next year, but it may be weaker than previous cycles.
The flame from the stovetop represents the incoming solar radiation. Now we have one more important ingredient, and if it's a lot, we could be in for some big snowstorms.
Okay, so what helps form big nor'easters? It's blocking. Well, not that kind. It's known as the Greenland block. High pressure, high in the sky over Greenland and the North Atlantic. This ensures us a cold air supply and a frequent storm track up the East Coast. In early 2010, we broke numerous seasonal snowfall records for the Mid-Atlantic. Notice the NAO during that time was in its negative phase. Remember how mild and snowless it was last winter? The NAO was positive. The science has been tested and the results match. This North Atlantic oscillation shifts from positive to negative and can do so quickly. In recent years, it's been mostly negative. In fact, some of the snowiest years on record have been in the last 10 years, and they all had a negative NAO in common.
So we're banking on a negative phase of the North Atlantic oscillation. That's a key ingredient for a snowy, cold winter. The recipe is complete. Let's see if we've got enough in here to have some fun in the snow.
Our average snowfall each winter, 48 inches. With no El Nino and a good chance the jet stream position delivers cold blasts with an East Coast storm track, there are indications that this winter may be similar to 2010's. Our snow forecast for this year, above average at 50 to 60 inches of that skier's gold. We are likely to have average winter temperatures with a few brief Arctic blasts, as well as mild spells several days at a time. The good news, we'll likely not see extended periods of extreme cold.
So be prepared with shovel and sand. Winter is about to get started. Thanks for joining us. From all of us here at CBS3 Springfield, have a safe winter season.